Okay, we're ready to meeting by the Easthampton Planning Board for July 23rd, 2013.
It's on.
Monitor's not built videoless.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Did it beep?
It did. There was a beep.
And anybody here to speak to anything that's not on the agenda? Any changes or corrections to the minutes from, or the agenda rather, as it's presented?
Minor one.
The agenda.
Oh, the agenda, not the minutes? Yeah, nothing to the agenda.
Okay.
No, it's kind
A
of
motion to accept the agenda on this meeting.
Second, third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Minutes for July 9th.
That's where I have the minor one. Adoption of the agenda, Jim. Second, Harry with an S at the end.
There was an S.
Yeah,
Harry's.
Harry's.
Got it. Roger that. Remove S after Harry's. Noted.
Any other?
Make a motion to accept as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, A&R for 87 Union Street, Autumn Properties.
The 87 Union Street, I think that's the address of Holmberg and Howell.
Oh, that's right.
The address I want is, this parcel is 175 Main Street, and currently the parcel is this, and this is 173 Main Street, which I own, and we're separating this parcel from here and attaching it to this parcel.
You're making that parcel bigger.
Yeah, we're gonna make this parcel a little bigger so that we can improve our parking over here.
Doesn't
I don't have.
Doesn't
It still has the,
what's that? The change doesn't even involve any front, right?
the frontage is still there.
It's just the only requirement in the AR, so there are no requirements, so this should be easy.
Right.
So that we can take.
I motion to approve.
I accept. I second.
Planning board have any, I mean, the planning department have any input on this?
You know, I honestly, I didn't have an opportunity to look at it, so. So you need to check the zone,
It's R5,
He's
so.
moving this to this.
whatever you
It's got
figure.
nothing to do with frontage.
So, motion,
I motion. I didn't hear the second.
I second. We'll wait for you.
Yep, all right. My only concern is
Okay.
we advertised an A&R for 87 Union Street.
All that's true.
Is that not?
That's I'm sorry,
But you don't have to advertise the awareness.
No, but I just, you know, other than that, I think this is a no-brainer.
Okay.
So, motion to the table, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. No.
Abstentions? Okay, so we're good.
That's really good.
My apologies for reading that one.
Have to take in the back room.
And next up after this is 78 Payson Street.
See it again.
All we want are 2 copies, right? Or do you want 3?
I need 2 signed, one blank. One for planning, one for city clerk, and one for assessor.
So 3 signed or just 2
I
signed?
just need 2 signed, but the associate doesn't need to be signed. I just need to get them.
There's 3 there.
Okay, thank you.
You want the actual back?
Yeah. No, no,
This one I didn't sign correctly, but I did sign the Mylar.
yeah, mine was,
Is all you really care about. And
exactly. And that's something else, right?
yeah, that's it.
Fair enough, thank you. See ya.
Thank you.
You good, John?
And 78 Parsons Street. Yeah, it's not here, right?
78 Parsons,
That was Vladimir, I think, right, who presented
on
last.
here, you
Go on
can either
to
go to 17
East
or
Street.
come back.
17 East Street. I'm sorry, you're here for the special permit, right?
For 17 East Street,
Come on,
yeah.
yeah.
Want some company?
You want to join me? My whole team, like, come on, crew, come join me. We try to all move forward. Sorry that I wasn't able to be here last week, or 2 weeks ago, my apologies. And I was out of town on business, so I believe that everything was presented correctly from what I'm understanding. I don't know if you have any questions on my part, but I know that we did have some things to address. Would you like me to just address those, or do you want to reissue some things to my attention?
The primary concerns from last week when you were, or 2 weeks ago when you weren't here, were the enclosure for the dogs and how that was going to happen. And there was also some concern about dogs going to and from vehicles into the establishment, whether or not they would be under your control or under the owner's control where they were brought in. I don't know if there's any...
I think the numbers of dogs too is another,
Yeah.
the hours and the numbers of dogs is sort of unclear.
Okay. So,
If you'd like to just make any general, you're welcome to, you know, it doesn't have to be that formal. If you want to make any statement, don't feel like you can't just speak, you know, and have a normal conversation.
yeah, no, absolutely, I appreciate it. So, did everybody receive the updated information that was sent out from the board? Because I got that in on Monday to her. Okay. Basically, the dogs to and from facility, you need a copy of
I
that?
don't have one.
I have 3 hard copies that I made for the board, or 4 hard copies of what was emailed to you. Look in this packet here. Right here.
Thank you.
Yep, so there's 4 hard copies for anybody who doesn't
Harry's
have one.
file.
I took mine back. Mine's colored, yours is black and white.
We can only see them like...
Thanks.
I'll get you a copy, I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
almost
have the
that.
color one in the original file, but I'll need that back.
Yeah, no, we're good.
I got them a copy of all of
She gave
those.
it to me, sorry.
Thank you. So the dogs, the dogs to and from the facility will be as anywhere else that they come in and out of their vehicles, but they are to be leashed, collared and leashed to come to and from. Obviously, once they're on our premise and into our care, it'll be our responsibility to make sure that everything is taken care of, and our liabilities, I believe, through the state will cover that accordingly with the laws. So there will be, every owner that comes into our facility will obviously be notified that they need to be on leash, and as any law would be in Massachusetts, that they're not to be loose, to minimize any confrontations. The hours of operation, I had stated, and I think I left out, possibly, I had just kind of given a range of hours, Monday through Friday. The hours needed are basically 6 to 8 p.m. or 6 to 9 p.m. for lights on in the premise. 6 a.m., I kind of delineated here that the canines will be able to arrive by 6:30. I need an employee to arrive by 6. Canines will be able to arrive by 6:30 at the earliest. Not usual that that's going to be the case most often. Most will be coming in between 7 and 8. 8 a.m. would be the time in which outdoor activity could begin. So the dogs will remain, the dogs will be kept indoors until 8 a.m. Then they can be indoors and outdoors. Potentially until 6:30 would be preferred, just because of the daytime hours in the summer. It's like later. But even in the wintertime, that may be earlier. Indoor activities will continue till final pickups are made. The facility indoors is also going to be for therapy appointments as well. The last appointment would be concluded by 8 p.m. And then any type of employee closing on premise until 9. So the dogs would basically be there from 6:30 a.m. at the earliest, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., but they would be indoors by 6:30.
Is there some kind of signage that you would put outside notifying owners about the leash? Because, I mean, you said that everyone that came there would be notified, and I know that once they come in, you'd hand out something, but if someone's coming for the first time, how are they gonna know?
Yeah, we can put signs out in the front. I mean, I'm not going to put them out on the roadside, but on the parking areas, there'll be signs that basically state dogs need to be leashed at all
But
times.
typically Massachusetts is a leash laws.
Right.
Correct. So, I mean, I can
They
back
should
that
know
up if you need, but...
Anywhere, but.
Good.
So you're stating you'd like me to still do that, obviously, to...
That was a question, no statement.
Anybody else have questions?
Any questions on the hours, or you want to discuss them one thing
The
at a
other-
time, or do you want to keep me
No, just keep it
present?
going.
Okay.
The other thing, the other question that came up were the number of dogs you
Yes.
plan to keep them.
Yep. Let me address that in here as well. Second page.
Bottom of that second page, yeah.
And thank you very much. Basically, the main canine operation that'll be there, that obviously we need to get the day-to-day operation stuff tight for, is the daycare itself, which is where dogs are going to come, be dropped off for the day, and then leave. All other things that go on within the business are going to be made by appointment only, and what I call is like a multi-health facility for pets. So we're not a vet office, but we will be, seeing dogs for therapy. They'll be coming in for strengthening exercises by appointment only. So sometimes we may have a small massage class going on, or there might be 5 or 6 dogs that kind of come in at the same time, but for the most part, it's going to be 1, 1, 1. I'm just trying not to, knowing if I utilize the whole space as to what's presented here and putting dogs into different areas, 50 at any one given time would be a high assessment for the area, the premise, and my employee ratio. So I'm asking for something that not be more than that, but we're probably going to be more between 35 and 40, 35 with the daycare, and then dogs that come and go. So we could have more than 50 a day if I have 30 in daycare and 10 or 15 for appointments, but again, they're not all going to be there at the same time. They would be by appointment.
Yeah, so when we talked last time, I think the upper window was 20 dogs, which at one time.
That's the care, the
Okay.
daycare itself for the day-to-day operation that would be there.
So when
at
you're
any
talking about
given
50
point.
dogs, you're thinking that would be the high for over the course of an entire day. I mean, 50
Correct.
dogs at one time there sounds like it would be a huge.
Too much, right. I'm
Right.
talking about the course of an entire day.
So imagine the sort of scenario where, you're the neighbor that's living in the house, the woman who was here last time with her dog, and you've got, at any given moment there are X number of dogs and they're all barking or something like that. Like, what number do you think would be a reasonable cap for how many would be there at 1 o'clock on a Monday or something like that? Your sort of high number, like a
like a
restaurant.
meeting.
Like a restaurant has occupancy, they may
Yeah.
have 3,000 people there in a day, but there's never more than 100 at a time or something.
Right.
Like, what do you think would be your max for how many dogs will be on site at any given moment?
I'm saying right now with where I'm thinking and how things will be laid out once we're up in full operation, anywhere between 25 and 30. But the other days where there might be a small group of 10 or a small group of 5 coming in for a massage session where we're doing a group rate would be adding to
But
that.
they're going to be indoors doing massage
Correct.
sessions, so that's not, I'm more concerned about the outdoor area.
20 to 25 outdoor by the time they
How many
come
people
and
would be
go.
supervising 25 dogs?
It's usually 1 per 10, but there'll be between 2 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees that'll be coming and going throughout the day.
Because
I mean, I think, personally, I think that's a number that we need to cap at something, and if your business blows up and you want to come back and there haven't been any problems, we can talk about it then, but I'm uncomfortable with sort of an open-ended, you could, you know, if everybody here needs their dog watched and you've got 100 dogs in your backyard or
Yeah,
something.
no,
you know,
right.
so
I mean, there's safety zones.
I think there's got to be a number somewhere, but like, I agree with you, Ron. I think my guess is that it's mostly going to be the outdoor dogs that's going to pose any sort of impact on the neighbors.
I'd say 25, because if we have 20 that are
But that's-
daycare at a max, and then
That's going to be
some coming and going.
huge with 25 dogs playing out. I walk my dogs at the Northampton State Grounds, and
I do too.
five to 8 dogs playing by the water.
Right.
The noise level is more than I'd want next door to my house. So I'm uneasy with even 20 dogs outside.
There's one concern that I have too, is you're going to have that many dogs, and where I take my dog in that, she doesn't have a problem, but she's very careful with putting certain dogs together.
Correct.
You know, you can't put XYZ dog together with another dog because of different breeds, they don't get along.
Right,
So,
that's why there would be, the fully enclosed dog play area is going to be sectioned off accordingly, so
Oh,
that
that's
we have
what I
what we
was
would call, within the business, there will be small play groups according to how they interact, how they play, size. We're also going to be open for handicapped animals, so we have dogs that are going to be in wheelchairs. They're not going to be able to be playing with the big bullies that are going to come in
Right.
and want to knock them down. So absolutely, I think that that is well within my business plan and arrangements to be had, to have safety nets for not only my dogs to dogs to people, and interactions with my employees, but to have
that's a concern
two smaller fenced-in
Employees,
areas.
different dogs react to different people.
Yeah.
But they also react differently to different breeds of dogs.
You're right.
And I didn't realize that different breeds don't like certain breeds.
They do, right, and I'll tell you, the ones that cause the most trouble are golden retrievers. Not many dogs like goldens. Funny.
They're very adamant. They get their noses in the
Yeah,
air.
but I mean, that's good concern from the
I have
standpoint
golden retrievers.
of having your own dog and coming in, but from also to address your point where, yeah, if you're at the dog park, it's a dog park. And that's why there's nobody other than the owners themselves watching what's going on. These are we're a whole health facility. Some of these dogs, they're not all 20 going to be playing outside at the same time, but say they were all out in their own play yards to have their elimination time and their play, but we're also going to be doing, exercise and fitness stuff. So they're going to be doing some core strengthening, if you want to call it doggy yoga, swim therapies, treadmilling, exercising, having basic obedience on target. It's not just going to be throw your dogs out for the day, throw them a dish of water and let them play. I want to be different, and I stand out above the rest of what's going on locally in our area.
So,
So, I mean, we're not gonna, if I have, in the beginning of the day, but continual barking, I'm gonna say that wouldn't be allowed on a regular hourly basis. I mean, that's, a nuisance dog is what I would call that, and that would need to be attended to. These dogs are gonna be, when they come through the door, screened. They need to fit in. And if they don't fit in, then they have to take them and get them obedience and train them. It's not going to be my job to train them, but I'm only going to be accepting in those that can fill all hours.
So nuisance dogs won't be accepted?
Right. Nuisance barking dogs and all of that will not be accepted to be in care on a regular basis.
Do you have...
Come in for therapy, I can't turn them away, but to come in for the daycare, that would not be an
So
issue.
what about obedience classes? You hold those too?
No, I don't wish to do that. There's already enough people in the area doing obedience. They do a good job at it, and I'd like to continue to feed them their business. So I will back up what they're doing by keeping the dogs entertained while they're in my care, but I don't want to do the obedience thing.
Very good.
The other thing I noticed from last time that's changed is the elimination areas, which is sort of, there's more of them now. Are those fenced off from the regular sort of dog play area? Are they open? How does that work?
Yeah, two of them will be fenced off, one of them will be open, as long as you can get the dogs to train into understanding that this is the ground that they actually go to the bathroom on. So if it's not grass, it's gravel. If it's not gravel, it's bark mulch. But eventually, when their smells all get in there, that's where they will choose to go on their own to eliminate. But then there will also be areas like right off the back of the building here, there's a small X for my therapy dogs. I don't want my therapy dogs mixing in with my other dogs.
Right.
So that's going to be just a small, secluded fencing so that we can come out the door and go into their own area.
And what about the one that's in the parking lot there?
The one in the front, I was just going to take one parking area and just put a small fenced area there. So the same kind of thing when you pull into a place to go. If you're on the highway and you pull into a service area, some have a little area where the dogs can eliminate. If I don't have any elimination in the front, that means dogs come out of their vehicle. Where are they going to go to the bathroom? I don't want them going onto the fence. I don't want them going into the bushes. So they will have an option to eliminate them in that space.
And is that going to be fenced in? Or that will be open?
I was planning on leaving it open, maybe just like, dress it nicely with some, probably some nice flowers arrangements or something. Some flower baskets, like those round barrels.
And
I
are
was
the owners
thinking.
going to be expected to clean up the mess?
All owners are expected to utilize what will be outside as dog poop bags and all that kind of stuff, just as they would be, and there will be, which we'll get into again, part of the waste removal. There'll be a bucket for them to put it in as well.
I found that when you dogs first, like my dogs, when they were first going to, they get so excited and all of a sudden, right there in the parking lot, so it's good to have something like that.
Again, I put it up towards the building. All the areas are near the building and not near the property lines for other people, so that it's not like they'll be eliminating while somebody's out in their yard and it's right there. I did discuss some of that in here as well. I'm planning, again, to having a trash, what do you call that? Dumpster does not come into play for this kind of elimination, I feel, because I think it can sit in the heat and humidity and will get really stinky. So I want to have, metal trash cans that don't hold the odor, using, our regular trash bags is just what the ordinances are to recycle with. I don't know how that's recyclable, but again, and then they have small bags. So the waste will be put into a plastic bag, which will then be re-plastic bagged, which will then be into a metal container. And those will be removed from the premise twice a week to start. If it needs to be removed daily, then that'll happen. But at this point, I need to set a standard and then be able to grow as we grow. And they will not be left over the weekend and things like that. The other thing we did address too would be Saturday mornings, there would be no outdoor activity and no dogs on premise for daycare, but some early morning Saturdays, we do run into the need for either the exercising or the therapy side. And again, right now I'm already scheduled out of town on Saturdays. I work up at Eddie's Wheels. I think you got to meet Eddie last week, and he's here again. So that is going to continue for me to stay up there and be able to spread my wings a bit more to cover some different areas. But for the exercising part of it, if it gets to be a need, then I may have to open those doors for some clients for the morning, and that would be like a 9 to 2 kind of ratio, 8 to 2, 9 to 2 on a Saturday, but no outdoor. They'd be eliminating outside, and that's it. They'd be indoors only.
Even the exercise component would be indoor?
Indoors.
Indoor exercise, okay.
Yeah.
Can you explain what the dog-safe kennel fencing is?
Dog-safe kennel fencing would be like your chain link fencing or like a stockade.
Okay.
So dog-safe fencing would mean that it's not something that they're going to get their head stuck through,
Okay.
that they can't really climb to get out of, that kind of thing. You'll be reading that with the sectioned off play area.
Yeah,
Some of it's going to be a solid small.
Right, I mean, some of it's already existing stockade fence, right? And some of it's gonna be added.
Yeah, the only added part is from the building towards the back, where it says the 8-foot gate.
Yeah.
That's the only piece of added fencing that we will be needing to tighten things in, and that will be a new stockade. The existing fence in the back is a chain link, and we're going to be adding a privacy screening to be installed so that there will be no interaction between the dogs and the people walking on the...
So what kind of privacy screening is that? I mean, what would that be?
Can I ask Kevin what your input on that would be?
More than likely, the most cost effective is it's like a green, like a wind mesh that you can't see through.
Oh, okay.
Applied
So
to
you can
it.
just roll it over the, okay.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
Go to the expert, right?
Well, if you can tell, I'm not an IT person, and my printers don't want to print on 11 by 17 paper, so you all got your own copy at least. And ask me a dog question, I'll be happy to answer it. However, the rest of it, I need to lean on Neil and Kevin for commodity stuff. And I was hoping to be able to meet the neighbor, but she didn't come today, or he didn't come today, so we'll have to do that in another time frame. But
For me, most of my questions have been answered. Elimination, I felt, was handled the last meeting well. There's been some changes. The number of dogs, I think, is really important in terms of how obnoxious that could potentially get. But I was also really worried that it might not be number, it might be the kind of dog. And you answered that as well, and that you're not letting that in because one really obnoxious dog could potentially be worse than 20 mildly obnoxious dogs.
right.
I don't know how to put a number. I'm not an expert on how many dogs is too many, where the background noise of even well-behaved dogs gets to be too much. But I would say, just off the top of my head, from what I heard, 25 would be my guess for what that number would be.
Anybody else have any comments?
No.
Questions I wanted to answer very well.
Okay, I think with respect to the fences and the locations and the elimination areas and lights, I think all that stuff, what they've given us here seems reasonable. I think it's just the number part we gotta sort of fill in the blank on.
Concur.
Well, like Ron said before, that, up in Northampton, they have the dog runs and all that. You may have 30, 40 dogs up there sometimes, and they interact very well if they're just letting your dogs run and go. I do have some concern about having 20 or 25 dogs in one caged area, but it all depends on how they're handled. I mean, there are other places that I see that have 10, 15 dogs, and you never hear a peep out of them. Every once in a while, one will bark, but it's not like you'll hear at the dog park, one dog starts barking, it's about a chain reaction.
Right.
They're just barking to bark. So I don't know how this will work out. This will have to be, put the dogs out there and see what happens. Her and her people have to be cognizant to the type of dogs going out there and what's going to happen. I mean, dog fights are probably going to happen. That's maybe 1 in a million, but...
The continual barking and how they're interacting and playing.
Right.
And that's what
Some
I
dogs
said
are
too, that we have,
continuous.
right now I have a cat, but I do something similar at my own home in Holyoke, and which is kind of where I'm outgrown that space for myself right now. And at times, you come over and, there could be 8 or 10 dogs there, and one would not know there was 8 or 10 dogs there. So that's the kind of quietness I'd like to have, as I keep it respectful for my own neighbors and my own family. I'd want to continue that But I don't want to be in an area where it's continual barking. I wouldn't want my employees having to have that either, even though we like dogs. So the health of the environment for people as well as the neighbors, my clients coming in as well, needs to be handled. And this is done. It has been done, and they've done a good job of it. I think it is a place. We do have a few neighbors here, but the rest of it around it, there's no other question that would be bothering anybody. And again, I been in the field a long time, enough to know the difference between a nuisance and a non-nuisance. And again, I can only say that from my experience, and you can't say it's going to be 100%. You're only going to, I might accept them in, but they'll be in on a trial basis. And if that dog can't get well, then there's other places they might be fitting in better.
Yeah, well, you stated before too, if you have a problem dog, you can tell the owner that you can't bring that dog here until the dog is better trained, and you can just let them know where they can have the training done.
Right. Right.
As long as that.
Right.
Yeah, the other flip side of all that is that, it is zoned highway business, so
Right.
I'm sympathetic to neighbors, but it's also the zone that it's in, so.
It's a very good point.
But it's a very small section of the highway business, and it's
It is.
residential, right?
And it's also, I'm more inclined to limit the number of dogs that can be outside at a given time on the small end. They're building a business. If it seems like they need more, they can come back rather than having to try to limit it if there's complaints at some point. I think that is going to be a harder issue.
My thinking is to probably the opposite, is to condition it with what they're asking for with 25 dogs, and further condition it that if noise complaints become a problem, that the planning board reserves the right to review it. But I really think, based on what I'm hearing, like to at least try to go on what the low end of a workable business model would be, so that we're not setting up a business to fail before it gets off.
No, I agree, and I think the fact that it's an outdoor number as opposed to a total number, that we can sort of do two numbers, so even if you have more dogs than that, if you have to shuffle them in and out.
That's kind of what I was
That's not-
trying to explain in here, and I think you said it well, that, okay, what's your outdoor number? And that's really going to be my daycare group, besides a few here and there that are going to be eliminating.
Right.
And then once they come in, they're in.
But you're talking about, you had mentioned in your discussion earlier, 35 dogs in daycare, so that, that has the potential of being 35 dogs outside, so that's...
Right, but it also would also need to be a rotation, where again, my plan is not that we have,
35 hours.
at the same time, exactly. They have groups, there's rest time, there's downtime, in the health of anything. You're not going to go and play for 10 hours in one day. It becomes a lot. So they do have in-time, downtime, rest time, and it means we have to rotate, and that's part of what my business planning needs to do to accommodate.
That's what I was understood, that they would be rotating.
What would be a fair number to your business model for maximum outdoor dogs?
I think in the 25 range, to say that we had 20 for daycare rotating, and the 5 I would leave as the window of dogs that would come and go from the premise during that outdoor time play. So Neil, I don't know if you have any other objections to that, but I think if you wanted to cap it at 25 outdoors,
Is that
I would be okay with
larger than
that.
what you're thinking?
No, I think that's reasonable.
25 was what I was...
Honestly, I don't know, but I think that...
I'm basing that on the fact that she's saying that she's going to control the dogs, and that it's going to be a reasonable noise level, and that furthermore that she's going to have a ratio of 10 dogs to each employee out there. I'd like to put that right into the conditions as well.
Can you state that again?
I've got a list.
Okay, good. Oh, boy. I wanted to, on that basis, also remind that at the last meeting, someone stood forward and spoke very eloquently on your behalf with your skills. And putting this together and speaking today, I feel that ultimately, because you're the dog expert, we have to trust your opinion on this. And given the presentation that she's given and what we've heard from other people, I do have that faith.
But the other side of it is that, we're trying to make sure that this works. But if noise levels were to be off the charts and there were noise complaints and stuff, there are other things besides, you know, just a special permit that are gonna come into play
Right.
anyway, that, you know, you can't have that kind of a thing going on anyway, so.
Right.
See a list?
Things I was thinking about is
Anything
in
else
terms
you
of
should add?
conditions, is that the applicant agrees that dog waste will be removed from the premise no less than twice a week. That outdoor dog activity, this is the second one, will be restricted to Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., or is it 6:30 you asked for?
6:30, I think.
6:30 PM is what I asked for, yeah, this is what I was requesting, just in the
8
second.
a.m. to 6:30 p.m., did I get that?
Right, yes. No,
Wasn't there also a weekend thing that she did?
no outdoor dog activity on Saturdays.
So, despite what she was requesting.
No, she wasn't requesting an outdoor.
that's
Only for elimination.
Only for elimination.
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously there's an exception for elimination.
Right, but I'm just saying, no, all right, then maybe I should, all right, we can.
I'm just saying, if you word it that way,
We can say, yeah, we can say, except for elimination.
Okay, with no outdoor dog activity on the weekend.
That's gonna be hard.
Dog.
well, for some it might not because they eliminate where they eliminate, but for most,
But for most, yeah.
for most, we'd like to keep it where it belongs.
So can I just ask, because Jim said weekends, but you said Saturday,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good pick.
which is it?
Saturday, right? There was,
You're not gonna be open on
Sunday,
Sunday, right?
So weekends
Not
is...
for, no, not for,
Do you want to just say weekends instead of say Saturday and Sunday? At least that way there, if you decide to
if you leave it open where if I can at least show up to have a
Yeah.
case here and there if I needed
Inside,
to.
then there's-
Inside,
yeah.
that would be great, but again, I mean, I'm
And
hoping
I
to have a
think-
family life too, so.
No, but I mean, there's no reason why we can't discuss reasonable hours on both Saturday and Sunday if you're gonna potentially do it, so that you're not coming back later to change things.
I gotcha. It's not in my set plan at this time, but, you know.
I mean, because I'm not trying to,
You should probably leave it open for Sundays,
I'm just,
limited basis. Go ahead.
Would you like me to
Okay.
read it as it stands?
and,
Oh, no.
sorry, I'm not-
Sunday, limited basis.
Sunday limited basis, I think, sounds fine.
well, those are branded too, is that the
We'll
hours?
do the hours of operation after, but no more than 25 dogs in the outdoor area, play area at any one time.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Outdoor play area will have a ratio of 10 dogs to one person supervising.
Does that need to be a professional, or can it just be anyone? If a dog owner
They're
comes,
no,
Employee.
they're a little
Employee.
do you prefer person supervising or employee?
Employee.
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 That we accept the drawing as presented in the presentation package and make it part of the
latest one.
latest,
Make sure we have
the
that.
latest one. Is there a date on it?
No, but
There's not, this one presented today.
This copy is the same, it's just the elimination areas. I went through the next,
Yeah.
and it's got the color on it.
And then the hours of operation, Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 8 p.m.,
That's 6 a.m. in the,
6:30 a.m.
We already have
At
one.
6 o'clock that her employee will show up,
Do we-
6:30 for,
Help me understand what you're doing. Already, we had a statement that said, outdoor dog activity will be restricted to Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. This is...
These are hours, these are business hours
Got it.
of operation.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
So we run at 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday.
She said that 9 o'clock there would be an
No,
employee leaving.
6:30 to 9.
Hours of operation, or
We're talking about hours of operation. She's got an employee coming in at 6 to open, and then drop-off starts at 6:30.
the last appointment at 8 o'clock, and an employee will be there until...
Oh, I'm sorry,
closing up.
okay.
So make 6 to 9.
6 to 9. Sorry, I missed that.
You're entitled to one miss, that's it.
And then you requested Saturday hours from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Yes, that was your request.
If you did a Sunday hour, what would you do? Do you want 9 to 1, 9 to 2?
Make it a same as Saturday.
8 to 2?
Yeah, the same
8 to 2,
as Saturday.
same as Saturday.
Same as Saturday.
So you can just say Saturday and Sunday.
If I'm there at 8 on a
Okay,
Sunday,
got it.
there's a problem.
Pardon me?
I said if I'm there at 8 on a Sunday, there's a problem. I need some downtime.
Anybody else got any?
I mean, the only thing left that they need to do on site is add the privacy screen and the fence, but that's per the drawing that we've already incorporated.
And same thing with the lighting, that's all incorporated with that too.
Do you want to talk about the illumination areas and how those are fenced, not fenced, located, how they're maintained?
They're on the drawings.
They're not-
The only other thing, pardon me?
How the discussion regarding how the areas will be coated with bark mulch and treated with non-toxic powder for odor control, that language in there. And I just think that the Board of Health had sent you a recommendation
Yeah.
of concerns, and so it might be worth having something in the
Yeah,
decision
specify
that...
what they have in the application there for that.
Do you want to just use?
Yes,
She was putting out
they said sounds-
She was she was concerned about the illumination, wanted to make sure that we did it. I mean, but do you think just adding?
I think you could just
this
pull from
language-
that.
Yeah, I think the part where it says that they'll be coated with bark mulch and treated with non-toxic powder, and that waste will be removed throughout the day in a timely manner.
I'm going to add that in. One of the sentences we have is the applicant agrees that dog waste will be removed from the premise no less than twice a week. And
And the elimination areas will be coated with bark mulch. And treated with a non-toxic powder for odor control.
okay,
And waste will be removed from these areas each day in a timely fashion.
we already had no less than twice a week.
That's waste pickup. This is actually picking it up off the ground.
Waste will be removed from these
It's good to have a
areas.
link, so I appreciate it.
Well, it was.
No less.
Throughout each day in a timely fashion.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if there's anything else with the Board of Health, if they, I mean, I'm just gonna say if there's another,
She was looking for a schedule, and I think this sort of spoke to what she was asking for.
I think if she has any other issues, she'll probably contact you.
Well, it also helps her in her enforcement as well, because
Right.
it's in the decision, so she receives a copy of every decision. So she'll have it in her file, so if there are complaints, then she's got a record to go to.
Right.
that's fine.
Anything else you have to add to this?
Ready for a
I
reading?
guess with the hours, we don't have to
What about-
specify if there's no overnight boarding, right?
No, we should put that in as another condition.
Just to make clear.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing.
Overnight boarding.
What was that, Jesse?
No.
There's no overnight care or boarding.
No sleepovers?
Parties at my house when that happens. Sleepovers at my house.
Okay. So we have it on
So
record.
this is what I got. The language a little bit. It's a motion to approve the special permit as presented in the latest presentation package with a provision that there be a limit of 25 dogs in the outdoor section at any given time. The applicant agrees that dog waste will be removed from the premises no less than twice a week, and the elimination areas will be coated with bark mulch and treated with a non-toxic powder for odor control, and waste will be removed from these areas throughout each day in a timely fashion. In addition, outdoor dog activity will be restricted to Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., and no outdoor dog activity on Saturday and Sunday except for eliminations. The outdoor play area will have a ratio of 10 dogs to 1 employee. Business hours of operation will be 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Friday. Saturday and Sunday business hours will be from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Not Sunday.
Not Sunday, I thought we were adding that.
Oh.
We added
Oh,
some.
you did?
No. Furthermore, I didn't say, it's actually no overnight care or boarding is allowed.
Right.
There was no furthermore.
Do we have the dogs per staff?
That was the ratio of 10 dogs.
Oh, ratio, okay. The only other thing I was thinking is we have the exception for elimination on the weekend hours, but we don't have one for weekday hours, so I'm assuming if the dog gets there at 6, it can go outside to go to the bathroom before the outdoor activity hours.
Oh, Monday
Which
through
would be
Friday.
Monday
yeah.
through Friday, that exception should be in there as well.
Right, there should be an exception to the,
So we say no outdoor dog activity on Saturday and Sunday except for elimination areas, right?
Okay, hold on 1 second, let me find
You're
that.
saying we should say the same, so Monday through Friday.
And no outdoor dog,
Thank you.
okay. So in addition, outdoor dog activity will be restricted to Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. and no outdoor dog activity on Saturday and Sundays.
but wait, stop on the Monday through Friday, right after you give the hours, you can say except for elimination.
And then say it again after Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, so after
Just one
6:30 p.m.
sentence.
Whatever, to run on, but when the decision gets written, it'll be more, it'll be grammatically correct.
You can split them out, you can
Yeah.
have two.
Yeah. But at least we're getting the intent of the
I could say in
motion.
both cases except for elimination.
Correct.
How about I do that?
Right.
Or I could say except for eliminations Monday through Sunday.
Oh.
Just except for eliminations.
I realized that if I say in both cases, it could apply to Saturday and Sunday, so I can't say in both cases. So give me a sentence here. Right now, in addition, outdoor dog activity will be restricted to Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. and no
Except
outdoor...
for elimination.
No, he was saying, what he was
One whole
saying was,
sentence.
no outdoor activity,
And no outdoor dog activity on Saturday and
outdoor
Sunday.
dog activity is restricted Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. There is no outdoor dog activity on weekends in both cases except for elimination, something like that. That's what you had just said.
Okay, yeah. The problem is that what worries me of saying in both cases
at
it
the
applies to the Saturday and Sunday.
at the very end, you could say elimination is permitted.
How about in
during
all
any-
cases except for elimination? In all
Sure, whatever.
cases.
That sounds-
However, it doesn't matter. As long as we can get it.
So
Got a little language in there.
the only other thing we didn't put in there that we may want to is a limit on the total number of dogs,
Right, we didn't do that, yeah.
which I don't know what people are thinking about that.
What was your number?
I'm saying 50 on any one given day, coming and going.
But
So-
But the total number we
In
have
terms
there-
of on the premise, I mean, if that's 20 to 25 for the 2.5 employees, whether that's myself
Right.
and another 1.5 for one part-time.
So if you have 25 outdoors and 10 working projects inside, is 35 about a right reasonable
Sorry.
number? Or would it need to be 40?
And if you have a class, that might go up to 40.
Right, because the class, that's when
So-
things get, well, right.
But realistically,
Class will usually be happening after the daycare dogs leave anyways, so it's gonna be a little bit of an in and out appointment only thing. That's the,
Does a limit of 40 dogs at any one moment seem reasonable to you?
do you see a time where you might have more than that?
no, that seems from,
I mean, I'm okay with, I mean, I think
because
outdoor dogs.
that's where I was in when I put, when I kind of ran through all the different scenarios in my mind as to
Because
how
that'll
we
be
could be putting
continuous
everybody in.
indoor and outdoor
Right,
together.
combined.
Just combine that, so 40 should be,
So I've added no
Yeah.
more than 40 dogs shall be on the premises at any given time.
that's indoor and outdoor, should be listed indoor and outdoor.
I'll make premises
Okay. Don't get a pregnant one.
It'll put me over the top, won't it? See what I'm up against?
They gotta be able to park.
Oh, so if they're deep arms, now if they're
Now it gets
deep arms, we could
Creating a loophole.
create a problem.
So
We're
who's gonna
already-
run this?
You've already,
Jesse, so motion to
Yeah,
second, I'll
just-
second.
you can't have more than 25 outdoors anyway, so
Right.
the 40 doesn't mean that much. It's the 25 and then you have 15 indoor, that's your 40.
Yeah, we're talking about the any one given moment in time, and that's, I think,
So-
is a lot for anything, so.
You made a motion.
I motioned, Jim seconded.
Jim seconded. So we have a motion as with the conditions read to approve this special permit. Any more discussion?
No, I don't think so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now you get a 20-day
So
waiting period after
the
the...
board has 14 days to draft the decision. After 14 days, it goes to the city clerk and gets stamped. Once it's stamped, there's a 20-day appeal period. You'll receive a copy of the decision and a form that says when your appeal date is over. Once the appeal date is over, then building permit can be pulled.
Then the business permit can be pulled, or the,
The building permit, you can then take out building permits to do whatever you need to do.
I got it.
Okay. The building inspector will not give you a building permit until the appeal period is passed.
Even for the fence?
Even
I
for
mean,
the
that's
fence?
sort of
You can-
unrelated to the business. I mean, if
You can bring that up with Joe.
talk to Joe and see if he's fine.
Your special permit's been approved for,
Right, which shows that line, so, okay.
I understand. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
I see that Vladimir's here now.
Sorry, I was working.
Okay.
No problem.
Well, it worked out well because somebody would have had to wait anyway, so you were working, being productive while waiting. All right. Come on up.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you. Jessica.
Never too early to start networking.
Okay.
So you have large-scale plans that were dropped off by the applicant. And you received a smaller version via email yesterday. Since the last meeting, you also received via email a copy of a letter from the city engineer regarding the wastewater. So that's the new materials that have been submitted to you.
Do you have anything you want to start with?
I pretty much revised a few things here. I talked to my architect and he said that, you know, the trees are not an issue. It's just perhaps over here on this end here, or technically over here, if you're looking at pictures, there's a whole bunch of maple trees. And it's on my property. I didn't even realize until I did a survey, and the surveyor showed that there is existing trees there. So this might be eliminating, but I'm gonna keep the rest of it. He showed a drain right here, and I spoke with Jim Brasher, and he told me that he has no issues with it.
Right. You're good. Did you get a copy of this letter?
Yes, but
Okay.
unfortunately, I came straight from work. I don't.
Oh, no, we have it. I just wanted to make sure I was going to offer you a
Yeah.
copy. if
No,
you
no, I
didn't
do
get one.
have
I
it.
can make you a copy.
No, I have it, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, he doesn't see any issues with it.
For the record, what's his name? I forget.
Jim Gracia.
Jim Gracia. Thank you.
So, I mean, the city engineer has talked about sort of what he needs or thinks should be done for the stormwater. So we've got the trees on here. The other thing I have in my notes are the lighting, the screening, and the garbage. I don't see those on this plan.
Well, I didn't want to put them on simply because I wasn't sure how the building is gonna work out as far as where it's standing, because there's a location here and there's a lot of room over here. We can place that at any time in either location here for a screen for the bathroom cans. There's going to be 4 of them. I'm sorry, not garbage cans. Yes. So therefore, really, he said. I talked to our architect. He said it's just going to be wooden fence, if anything, and it's not going to take. Once the building is situated and it's in place already, at that point you can locate the...
But you're anticipating doing it on the side of the garage, or the side of the parking lot, either side?
Either side, right.
Between the
Either
trees.
here or here, between the trees, right.
And fully screened by the wooden fence or something?
Wooden fence, right.
Yeah.
So there's going to be 4 trash cans, roll-ups, 96 gallons, picked up by Country Place.
I took a ride by there, and is there any way I can see that maple tree that's in the back?
Well,
It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous
It is
tree.
gorgeous, and I love it.
It's just a beautiful looking tree. I hate like to have them just cut it down.
Well, this tree here, huge pine tree.
I see.
I'm gonna take that down.
Well, a pine tree and a maple tree are 2 different things.
But a maple tree here
It's just a beautiful looking tree.
is, if I can fit the building without cutting it, I will. But I'm gonna have to trim
Oh,
it.
it's on it, right?
No,
Don't tell them that.
No, I'm gonna have to trim it.
Because it is really, really, really
Because
sharp.
it's really far out. I mean,
Yeah.
it is far out. So,
See, I'm against taking that tree down also.
then I have no
And
issues.
once the tree does come down, when I was there, you're looking straight out, and lo and behold, that if I was on this apartment building, and lo and behold, Jessica, I could see your house from there.
It's right in her
I can see
backyard.
that tree. We watched the laundromat burn when it went down.
Went down, yeah.
So
Then
that would be a great tree to keep.
I'm gonna have to trim it then in order to make it.
Well, trimming with care, and because that tree doesn't look like it's,
Disease at all.
I didn't see any disease or anything, and,
Right.
It may sound crazy to you. but-
No, I know, but
The
I'm
pine
gladly gonna, if you would like me to, I can gladly put a maple tree in either location.
It's not the same.
I know, but because it's old,
This is-
I know
this
that
is
it's gonna take time to
established.
produce. Yeah, established, right.
yeah. If you can keep that with just trimming,
I
that's
have no
fine.
problems with that.
I can see the issue with the pine tree, that's starting to go, plus the needle factor with that. Everybody doesn't like that.
I'm gonna
So
take that.
if you can keep,
Well, the pine pitch.
let's say we're gonna keep the pine, the maple tree with trimming.
Well, do we know if that's possible? I mean, I don't want to put a condition on this that's going to make it an unbuildable lot for him.
I feel the same way as you do, although I also share your feelings that it's, it's valuable and it plays a part to other residents, but realistically, I think that's going to be
Right,
hard
I
for
think
him
he
to
stated
manage.
that, he
It's gonna
didn't
be
think,
hard.
if he was to keep the maple, he would have to trim it, but the building is still gonna go.
Well, telling him, putting a permit in that says, he's going to try to keep it, doesn't really, it has no teeth to it,
Yeah.
so it's basically worthless to put that in there. I mean, he can say he wants to, but if he decides he can't, then he can't. So, I mean, I don't know if we want to put a condition in there that's kind of a toothless condition. I mean, I think we either say he has to save the tree because we know there's a way to build
Well, that's
around
what I
it.
wanna do, I want him to save that tree.
We could just put a note in just to
And he
make
stated that he
the
would
record say we
save
did
the
so,
tree.
asking.
Well, I think what he said is he, to the extent he could, he would prefer to save the tree, but
I love the tree.
Right, no, I understand that.
No question about that.
And we went through this last week, but I think you also said that it was gonna pose a problem where it currently is, where it's overhanging the roof and...
Correct, it's about 30 feet with branches hanging out, so I'm gonna have to trim it, and by doing that,
It may look like a tree on the roadside after the power company goes through.
The trimming could end up
unfortunately,
killing it,
that might happen, but the tree is gonna be there in place, and in a couple of years, it might be branching out in a different way, so.
I mean, if you think that, I mean, do you think that you can build this as you've designed it without taking down that tree just by trimming it? I mean, I don't want to put a condition.
Trim it, yes, I can trim it and I can build it,
Okay,
yes.
great.
And
Pine, I'm gonna have to take it out. But the maple, yeah, I can save it, but I have to trim it.
Harry's on record as saying he doesn't care about the pine tree. Take it all down.
No, I'm not, my concern with the pine tree is it looks like it's like all pine trees. They start from the bottom and work their way up. And that one is working its way up. So it's going to be, in 10 years, you're going to have to take it down anyway. So you might as well take it down now.
I think for Exon.
But my concern is, personally, I give them taking down the pine tree, but trying to save that maple.
Were things like the new catch basin or the relocation of the catch basin in there? I can't quite see.
Well, I guess we're off the pine tree. We're off the maple.
He's got it there. As far as the tree goes, I want to be able to have a decision that it's going to be enforceable, and if it's not an enforceable item, then, I mean, if this tree becomes an eyesore because of the way it has to be trimmed, you know, we've accomplished nothing in conditioning it. And I don't disagree that, you know, an established tree should be attempted to be saved, but if practicality plays out where it's, you know, lopsided and leaning towards the other side of the neighbors, but yet we have a condition in here that it has to stay, have we?
That's, I mean, I don't know that any of us are really qualified to say that you can do that and save the tree, and I don't want to put a condition in there that you can't comply with immediately. So, I mean, I don't really know our way around this.
I would rather see us put conditions in to reestablish vegetation, because that we can enforce and that we can specify. And it's very controlled. We don't know what will happen when he tries to trim that tree. He can tell us in good faith that he will try to trim it and save it, and, you know, so take him at his word for it.
What if we ask him to make every effort to preserve the maple, but also plant new, are these maples that you've got planned to replace with? Let's see what they are on the
I got
map.
honey locust,
Red maples.
caliper red maples on.
Well, red maples get very big anyway. They're
Pretty small.
I can't imagine planting like sugar maples back there, run into the same problems you got now.
Yeah, you're just gonna start over again, right? Well, I mean, are we comfortable saying that he'll take every reasonable effort to preserve the existing maple, and that he'll also
And leave it at that, and then just,
Yeah.
Well, I like having him plant the 4 trees as well.
no, I agree.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's with regard to the established maple, we just make,
That he'll take every reasonable effort he can to preserve it to the best of his ability. And I accept that there may be no way around it. Harry, is that a deal breaker?
Sounds great.
Okay. The only other thing for me that wasn't on here is we talked about screening for the parking area between the parking lot and the street.
yeah, there's
And
no,
there's nothing on there, there's no vegetation or anything like that. I think that's,
As of right now, there's a grass there. I intend to keep it that way. And for my main reason why I didn't do it, because in the past, whatever I did put trees up front, they do give a lot of shade in the winter, and all the snow, it doesn't get melted right away. And since I do have a catch basin in the parking lot, I would like to maintain that open for the...
but you can have deciduous shrubbery there, you
Or
can
bushes of any
you can
kind.
have even ornamental grasses that gets cut down in the fall. This is really a scant proposal for vegetation here. There's 2-inch caliber trees that, you know, those are not not very impressive trees, and you've got, 10 plantings along the building, and that's, other than the grass, that's all I don't see that as a, if I were, I don't think that's adequate.
And it's also, in the zoning bylaws, it's pretty clear that that's sort of the condition for when you have to put parking in front of the building, that's sort of the way you get around it, is you can conceivably put in some sort of vegetative screening, so at least it's still not parking right on the street like that. So I would agree with Ron. I don't think there's anything sort of unduly burdensome about putting in bushes or small trees or something along the side, or even tall grass like we were saying. I think that's...
They have 4 or 5 foot ornamental grasses. You cut that down to 6 inches from the ground every fall. It'll screen it all, 9 months out of the year, 8 months out of the year.
You're gonna make sure these trees are back far enough, because if somebody's pulling onto the driveways, they have to see both ways in order to pull out of it.
Oh, yeah, I'm not suggesting that, and they don't have to be 6 or 8 feet tall. They
Yeah,
can
I'm
be
just saying,
ornamental
yeah.
shrubbery that's only 36 inches
I
off
think
the
you're
ground.
thinking 3 feet, 3 or 4 feet even.
We're not looking to make a safety hazard, and personally, I think, if you're gonna put some trees here, these should be 4-inch caliber trees. That's not asking a lot.
Especially at a red maple, because they don't get very big. We have them in our yard, and 4-inch trunk, they just don't get that big.
I planted honey locusts in the back of my yard, and I started with a 5-inch caliber tree. And they're a fast-growing tree, but they still take a while to establish themselves. So I think we're good with. I also think that with regard to the trash receptacles, I don't mind whether it ends up being on the left or right side of the parking lot, but I think it almost should be in either fully screened on all sides except for the back or something, or some sort of a storage shed or something. If you're having front parking and from the street you can see that area where the trash receptacles are going to be, that should be totally well screened from the street.
I agree.
Concur.
So that needs to be defined as far as what you're going to do, in my opinion, and you need a better landscaping plan.
Well, do we need him to come back with that, or do we just want to make conditions for it right now?
I think we should make conditions.
I agree.
I don't think we need to make him go back.
Okay.
It's back and forth, it's gotta stop.
Do you want to say that the garbage has to be screened on 3 sides with a 4th side that's a door? Do you want to say it's 3 sides and 1 side is open? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't care as long as whatever we decide on is something that's going to be totally screened from the street. I think.
I like the 3 sides. I think
With 1 side open. That's fair.
Yeah.
Perhaps something like this, and this isn't the real motion, this is just what it might be like, but it would be a motion to approve the special permit as presented with the following conditions. Every reasonable effort must be made to preserve the established maple. Vegetative screening must be added to the front of the property. Trash receptacle must be screened on 3 sides with 1 side open.
Yeah, I think we should say, we also want to comment on the fact that it's going to be, the trash will be located on either side of the parking lot.
And must be located on either side of the parking lot.
But also that, that the stormwater design and final drywall locations will be approved by the city engineer too.
Did he restate?
The final stormwater plan and drywall locations will be approved by the city engineer.
Must be approved.
They already approved it, they already approved it.
No, he said it looks like it's fine, but they have to do dry wells, and he wants to change where the gutters and downspouts go. But he said at the end of it, he would meet with the developer on site to approve the final plan.
I think it's going to be hard to word this landscaping thing without?
The screening.
Right now, I have vegetative screening must be added to the front of the property, but that doesn't really, I mean, that's very,
That's what I'm saying, you need another landscape plan, because if you don't put the plan in with the decision, then it's like,
Well, I mean, I think you can say there has to be vegetation of at least 3 feet in height or something like that.
vegetative screening of at least 3 feet.
I don't know, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here, we don't need to...
I agree with
Jess,
that.
do you
I
have
think
any
something that has to be,
suggestions with this?
that has to be put on there.
What I can do is, I can talk to my architect, we can go over what can be done there, and I can email right away as soon as it's done. And it shouldn't take a long time to do it, you know?
That would push us to the next meeting again.
That's what I'm...
Jessica, do you have any comments or suggestions?
Well, the gentleman who did come into the office, I mean, I did encourage him that if he wasn't comfortable with the plants, then he should work with a landscape architect to come with a planting plan. So, you know, that's my recommendation, if the architect or the engineer that the applicant's currently working with. I think that you need something, you're talking about, can you just show me exactly where?
Between the parking lot and the street.
Yeah, I mean, there needs to be some treatment to, again, sort of soften the edges, which is what I explained to the applicant's engineer, that, you know, the edges need to be sort of softened, it has to have a nice streetscape. It's easier for us in terms of issuing the certificate of occupancy if we have a planting plan that we can go, and we can verify that everything's been planted.
Right, if you verbalize it, it's like, how do you go?
Well, and the other thing I would say about the planting is that you need to put an insurance policy on that plant material for at least 2 years in the decision. So there needs to be something in the decision that says that if any of the plant material dies over, you know, 1 growing season, 2 growing seasons, you can decide what you want to do, that the applicant will replace that planting material at their own expense.
That doesn't go in the motion, that goes in the decision.
Yeah.
Well, that would go in the motion.
The motion of the conditions. Yeah, I'm saying it should be part of the conditions is that they could put in plant material and then it could die within 3 months if it's not properly watered, if it's planted improperly, if they don't dig enough hole for the root ball. I mean, there's plenty of ways to plant incorrectly to kill plant material. So, you know, this is getting a little off topic, but I think that should be part of the decision as well.
Right, but shouldn't we know what type of plants are going to go in there?
I think it's preferable, but
But you also spoke with his architect in advance of this, about this.
I don't
Or you spoke with-
know if it was the architect, was it your engineer?
Yeah.
So I spoke with the engineer, and we talked about plant materials, and he felt confident that he could put together a planting plan.
Because it makes me wonder if, I mean, I think that there's stuff back there that wasn't there in the first one, but I think that there's certainly been fair notice on this issue. We brought it up at the last hearing. I don't have a problem continuing it for another.
Oh, you did talk about street trees. I'm not sure if you talked about vegetative material
Right.
in front. I
We
think
talked about the front.
We did talk about screening.
Yeah, because it's in the, I didn't, to move the parking to the
Right,
front.
we did, it was discussed about the screening, but
I think we talked about screening. I can't remember. We'd have
No,
to
we
go back
talked
to the
about
tape.
screening the parking lot.
Because that was the whole issue of putting it in the front
right,
versus the
and
back.
I
grass is not
remember that coming up, and he was supposed to come back with a plan to show us
Right.
screening, and it's not there, so.
But the street
And we have
trees.
a private interest, we really do want to keep the process moving, but we've got to have the
I
right.
understand completely.
So,
It's just that we can't write, you can't verbalize it effectively.
Unless you said something that the applicant will put in, you know, 6 of this specific
Right.
plant material.
right.
I mean, you could verbalize it if you knew exactly the type of plant material that you want out front and how it's going to be spaced and how many. You could put that in there. Again, we can't issue a certificate of occupancy if we don't have some basis to go off of in terms of.
And we don't have a
I
landscape
think we should
architect on
have-
staff, so, you know.
I think it's much better to have a drawing.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we know just which plants are going in there.
Planting plan won't take them long to do, and we'll get you in, we'll continue this to the next meeting. We'll put you first on the agenda. I think it's pushing you back a tiny bit, but I think, I mean, you pretty much have, we're not against your plan here, so we're just trying to work out the fine details.
So, in conclusion, let me say that, would you like to see fenced garbage container area, right?
Yeah.
On the.
Well, yeah, if
Yeah,
there's that, you might as well
Contingency that I
just
can
do
move
that.
either here or there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not
Okay.
arguing that.
And something up front here.
A planting plan.
Between
Yeah.
sidewalk and
yeah.
the parkway.
Right, to screen the parking area from the roadway. Some sort of, something to break it up.
And we're not looking to make it high, so it's a safety hazard. It can be things that drop its leaves so that in the winter you don't get shade on that.
Do you want shrubbery, or would perennials be perfectly acceptable?
Anything that
Anything that
is
will
lower.
screen, as long as they're,
Because perennials are only a seasonal thing, but I'm just, again, just trying to...
I think some deciduous shrub, a mix
Two
of
issues.
deciduous shrubs and some
Two issues that were brought up
grasses.
that maybe he could add into his own benefit is, you know, the snow removal issue in that area, and also the turning and not being able to see.
Yeah, we're good with this, with the snow removal. He's got plenty of room on each side of the parking lot to push.
So, these minutes contain most of the things that were said here, and they'll be put up online in case you need it.
And,
All right, so,
yeah, I think just a planting plan across the front and you know, I think you need to bring the caliber of those trees up.
Yeah.
A 2-inch tree is gonna take 10 years to do anything.
Get the 4 inches.
Well, 4 inches,
I mean, total, it'll take 10 years to get the 4 from 2.
well, even a 4-inch tree takes a couple of years
Yeah,
to
it's a long
recover
time.
from the shock of being planted.
all right, so
See you
I
next
move that
meeting.
we continue this to the August 13th meeting at 6 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
What was the date? August?
August 13th.
13th.
When was your building, when did you want to get this up and running? What was your target
I
date?
really wanted to get digging in August already because I'm a mason by trade, and August, September that's the best time to get it out of the ground. Once I do that, I only have a couple of months to put a roof over, and then the rainy season comes and a swimming pool or
Yeah.
Swimming pool.
yeah.
Any more business before this?
Just a couple of, do you want to wrap this up? We're all-
We've already.
Oh, okay, so you're all set.
Very
You
good.
can-
You're all set.
I'll see you guys.
See you on the 13th.
Thank you.
So just a couple of notes. I gave you, I don't know if they were passed out, copies of the Highway Business District Report that was submitted to the planning board. You got a copy via email. This is a hard copy. They will be coming before the board on August 13th to present the report, so I suggest you read it before the next meeting on the 13th.
Please restate the date they're coming.
13th.
Next meeting, August 13th. Also, you received via email correspondence from City Council regarding the review of the special permit language. We have until the 13th of September to take action, so
I'd like to put that on the meeting, the second meeting in August.
I think you should put it on the second meeting in August. I think it might take a couple meetings.
Title it again, 13th of December to discuss.
13th of
September.
August.
13th of September
September.
to discuss City Council correspondence regarding the review of special permit language.
Thank you.
And if anybody needs copies, I send hard copies to both Harry and Chet, correct? Okay.
The meeting can be on the 13th of September?
No, it's the deadline.
No,
Oh,
the
that's the deadline. I'm
deadline, the
sorry,
deadline,
I'm
you
sorry.
have a
Okay,
deadline?
okay, yeah.
On the highway business, are we going to meet with the,
They're going to present it.
A few members of the committee are going to present to the...
right, what about the
Ordinance committee.
ordinance committee? Are they going to meet jointly with us?
It's
to
not a
look
public
at-
hearing. If you would like
We gotta figure out
to...
what we're gonna do first.
If you'd like to invite them, you certainly can do that. But this was a committee that was established by the planning board, not the
Not
ordinance
the city,
subcommittee.
yeah.
So they're reporting to you as your subcommittee on the results of their report.
I think we should hear the.
Yeah,
Hear
let's do that
the
internally first.
recommendations first, and then move forward with what we
Absolutely.
agree on as a board, and then reach out to the ordinance subcommittee once we decide what we want to do.
Yeah, because if we don't have the ordinance committee with us on doing this, we're going to pass it on to the city council, it's gonna go through ordinance.
Well,
Well,
this
yes,
is, wait a minute, let me
they
just back up. This is a list of recommendations. These are not zoning changes that you're putting forward. So it's going to be the board's responsibility to look at this report and then propose zoning changes, which then you would work with the ordinance subcommittee.
This has to percolate down a bit first.
Yeah, we gotta figure out what we're gonna do.
We also need to talk about how you want to publicly release this information, if you want me to put it on the website now in anticipation of the meeting on the 13th, so that members of the public would have an opportunity to look at it and comment, or if you don't want me to do that, I
I would rather put it on the website as an agenda item and allow anybody who's interested to come and listen to the presentation with us and allow the subcommittee to make their presentation before we start having a public discussion.
Sure, that's fine. So I'll go ahead and...
You don't wanna give them a copy for people that are interested to get it and come to the meeting with?
I don't mind, but I don't want the meeting to be a public discussion.
Oh, I would agree, yeah, I mean, I think
You
that
don't
it's...
want public input at this.
Comes
I mean,
later.
I certainly think that they're entitled to
They
make
have
their
the right to.
presentation first,
Quite
yeah.
frankly, this
I
committee's
just-
been in place for 3 years. If people, the members of the
I-
public had a comment on this, they should have participated within the past.
I want this subcommittee to have a chance to make their presentations
Agreed.
without being,
Yep.
Well, I likely think this will be on our agenda for a while anyway, so we can...
Yeah.
There's multiple steps down the road.
A
There'll be more
simple
public
and silly
comment.
logistics question. How many members do you anticipate will show up from the subcommittee, and is this the best room for it?
As far as I know, there's only 2 members that will be presenting the information. There may be more. I mean, the whole committee was notified that, I think was the whole committee notified? Were you notified? In an email? From Suzanne?
Yeah.
And Bill? Okay. So the whole committee knows that the information's being presented on the 13th. So,
I know Eddie Fedor wants to come, I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
We'll be all right here.
Heard from him, too.
Just checking.
and if we can look at the
I can look at the city calendar. If we need to move, then we can move. And I'll just post notices on the building at the time.
I would like to move to adjourn.
So, does everybody agree that we're gonna wait to put this on the website until after the presentation?
Yeah, I mean,
Or do you want to put it ahead?
I really don't feel very strongly about it either way.
Okay.
Well, you know, what I don't want to happen is have somebody who lives on Highland Avenue say, well, I never got notified.
Right. Yeah,
It's gonna be on our
public
agenda,
has a
the
right to come to the meeting.
I don't want to hear that.
It's going to be on the agenda, but also to the extent we want to change any of the ordinances, there's
No, I
going to be...
totally agree with you, that's what I'm saying, I want to make sure everybody knows.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've been through a few of these meetings upstairs where people
Oh,
like,
yeah.
from Highland Avenue say, well, I didn't know this was going on, I should have been aware of it, and dum-de-dum-de-dum, you know?
Right, 'cause, you know, they're gonna say that, you know, they're all public meetings, why weren't we,
Yeah.
They're open meeting. They are public.
Right.
And they're gonna be, the agenda's gonna be posted and this presentation's gonna be listed on the agenda.
Okay.
so it'll be up to them to read it and show
People
it.
have a responsibility. If they have an interest in an issue, then they need to take some responsibility
Right.
to go to the website and get information, or go to the city clerk's
I
office.
agree with that.
All right.
So there's a motion to
Say
adjourn.
again, I want to...
Oh, I was gonna to adjourn.
I thought Harry already did.
Well, he did,
Whatever.
he
So
did.
there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Would you hit the button,
No,
please, Jim?
the reason I'm saying that